End of August 2022. Uprock says Jay-Z's God Did verse has rap fans re-emphasizing his GOAT status. Rap Aesthetic says Jay-Z reaffirms his GOAT status on God Did. Uprock says, Madre News says Friday Heat. Jay-Z reminds everyone why he's the overqualified GOAT on Khaled's God Did. This was August, late August. A lot of people been hitting me. People right away were hitting me up saying, you know, what are my opinions? What are our thoughts? What do you think of the verse? Where does it rank all time? How many, you know, bars did you catch? What is going on with this topic or that line? What did he mean by? And my answer repeatedly was, I'm not talking to you niggas right now. I'm enjoying the verse. I need time.
But they need to know, Sway.
This is Hov we're talking about. This is Hov we're talking. No, for real, no. But this is Hov we're talking about. And I don't know why when a feature verse from Sean Jay-Z Carter drops, people think that they've caught everything the first time they listen to it, the 10th time they listen to it. I was listening to this verse 2 weeks later, and I was catching new things. So let's get into it. Let's get into it, guys. Hov, God Did. We're just going to, it's a beautiful song. I think the beat is great. I think Ross snaps. I think Wayne snaps. Mm-hmm. I think DJ Khaled, if he did engineering on it, mixing and mastering, whatever he did to curate,
he did
DJ
his job.
Khaled snapped. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to
God Did.
Shout out to We the Best Music. Shout out to The Rock.
Best.
DJ
Khaled.
Another
we the best.
Another one.
Ooh, we know. No, I'm just playing. Wrong song. I got a little too into it.
What are you doing over there?
I got too into it.
DJ Khaled just gets you
Khaled
high,
even
you
sound
know?
like that, bro. Like,
man, what you talking about? That's old school DJ Khaled. The youngins don't know, but bro, everybody killed it on. I'll put it to you that I don't care for the album. I only care for that song, dog. Like I turn that song on, listen to it.
I've heard a lot of people say that, but I like that album.
Fair enough.
I think it's DJ Khaled's best album.
Really?
But let's get into the song and let's get into the verse, because I'm no disrespect to these other legends that are on this song. Shout out Friday, shout out John Legend. But we are here to talk about the GOAT. We are here to talk about Jay-Z dropping a Verse of the Year contender in 2022. And I just want us to get right into it. Hov did. Right off the bat, before the verse really starts, we go from God did to Hov did. He's telling you right away that God did and Hov did. So before you get to thinking Hov's taking all the credit for all these accomplishments that he's about to rattle off, he's telling you this is God's work. You know what I'm saying? There's a double layer in meaning right away when he gets into that first line. Then it's prayer time. Please, Lord, forgive me for what the stove did. But I want to get right into the billionaire lines, because he says nobody touched the billion until Hov did. Entendre. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to count all the entendres in this verse so people can understand what's really happening in every line. Nobody touched the billion until Hov did. Obviously, billionaire. He's talking about the hip hop community. He's talking about the fact that Hov was the first billionaire in hip hop. He's also saying he's GOAT status.
Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre didn't touch a Billy. Dr. Dre got close. Dr. Dre didn't touch a Billy.
I saw the check.
Yeah, no. And also, he's saying nobody touched GOAT status until he did. Because Billy is a male GOAT. Right away. We got entendres in the first bar. Nobody touched a billion until Hov did. How many billionaires can come from Hov crib? I count 3, me, Ye, and Reed. Bronze, wait, pause, hold on. I count 3. How many billionaires can come from Hov's crib? I count 3. He's talking about Ye, Reed, and Bron. Him, Ye, and Bron. But he also says, I count 3 in his crib. Hov has 3 kids, guys. Hov has 3 kids. Rumi, Sir, and Blue Ivy. That's 3 billionaires coming from his crib because they're going to inherit him and B's wealth. So he's telling you 2 things in almost every line. And people are like, and it's slick, it's subtle. He's not yelling it out. He's not, emphasizing his voice to make sure people know, yo, this is a bar. You got to look for this. He's just saying it and moving on. But it's all there. Bron's a rock boy, so 4 technically. Bron's got 4 rocks on his fingers, guys. 4 championships. Bron's a rock boy, so 4 technically, as in there's 4 billionaires that have come from my crib.
And he's a GOAT.
And he's a GOAT. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Bron's a rock boy, so 4 rocks, guys, technically. You know what I'm saying? 4 championship rings for Bron, but also he's the 4th billionaire to come from the Rock Nation family tree. Rihanna, Hov, Kanye, and Bron. That's 1, 2, 3 entendres, and we're like 4 bars into the song. I left the dope game with my record clean. I don't even have the lyrics up. That's how long I've been sitting with this song. I left the dope game with my record clean. Obviously, criminal record, right? I left the dope game. But people, if you don't have the context, in 1995 is the last time Hov was in the streets moving weight. Hov was in the game all the way up until just a year before Reasonable Doubt dropped in 96. That's why a lot of that album is written from the point of view of a person in the street life, because he was in the streets when he was writing it. You know what I'm saying? Years leading up to its release in 96. So he left the dope game. Not only did he get out of the game with a clean criminal record, but the first single to Reasonable Doubt off of the album is Ain't No Nigga. It's shortened to Ain't No for radio play because it was a clean song. Mm-hmm. So I left the dope game with my record clean. His song was a clean song. It was a clean version. So again, 4 double entendres. But I just wanted to point out that Hov also, and we'll touch on this. We'll have a video coming out where we really expand on lyricism and the uniqueness of the quality of uniqueness and originality when it comes to technical lyricism and hip hop, and Hov's ability to make points from his point of view that only he can make because his life is so grandiose and unique adds to this skill, of his lyricism, because he can say, I cleaned up La Madrina with the same soap that he washed his record clean with. La Madrina as in godmother, as in queen pin, you know what I mean? As in street mother, as in the wife of OG Juan Perez, who we'll get into more about that later, who Hov has connections with both from his street days and his current corporate days. But we'll get into that later. Now that we in stores, I put my hustle on the Forbes. Can you believe this guy? When he says, out the mud, they got to face you now. You can't make up this shit. We said, fuck it, took the dope public. Out the mud, they got to face you now. You can't make up this shit. Out the mud, you get it out the mud. We get it. You out the dirt. You come from nothing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But you run out of the mud pampering someone doing a facial. Out the mud, they got to face you now. They got a facial. It's a homonym. So facial, but they got to face you now. You can't make up this shit. So you can't. Then he's talking about Emery, his former street partner and current Rock Nation clothing brand president, if I remember correctly. He's speaking on Emery. They gotta face you now, as in they have to meet you face to face in this corporate world. Even though, I'm sorry, he's actually connected to the monogram, the Hov's weed dispensary, his weed distribution. So Emery, who was in jail for 10 years for selling drugs, now gets to face the corporate world that told him drugs weren't legal to be sold. Like, he's like, yo, now they gotta face you. Out the mud, they gotta face you now. They can't make up this shit. You know what I'm saying?
He brings that up when he talks about how weed's being sold in the stores.
Right, exactly. He's alluding to that. Foreshadowing. And then he says, I'm at the cap table, what the splits is. Not that cap table, but we lit is. I'm at the cap table is a reference to his business talk. He's talking about the capitalization table that is like a diagram that demonstrates the splits in ownership and percentages in a corporation, but also not that cap table, as in no cap, as in we don't lie. We live this. We do this shit for real. So you see, the wordplay is like every bar. If it's not an entendre, it's some other type of wordplay. And he's using language that has never been used. I'm at the cap table, what the splits is, kind of a play on like crap table and splits, but like corporate level. Breezy, what the business is. We pushing Fenty like fentanyl. This shit is all legitimate. Breezy, a lot of people were like, oh my God, are you talking about Chris Brown? He's not talking about Chris Brown, guys. He's not talking about Chris Brown. Breezy is the nickname for one of the Roc Nation executives that manages Rihanna. He's Rihanna's manager and Hov's business partner. So he's saying, we pushing Fenty like fentanyl. The shit is all legitimate now. But the business is breezy. It's a breeze. So it's easy. You know what I'm saying? E was down 10 for this. That's a reference to Emory also. Emory Jones was in prison for 10 years. We just got his 10 back and went back like where the interest is, building up on his resume and making up for lost time. And then he says, to take it back to the La Madrina line, he says, OG sold to those you call kingpin. If those are drug lords, then who are we then? OG is a strand, but OG is also Juan Perez's nickname. OG Juan is Hov's partner in business, also Roc Nation Sports Vice President currently. OG Juan is also the distributor to the kingpins of Harlem in the 80s. He used I don't know if you guys ever seen the hood classic Paid in Full with like the movies that are based off of the Alpo Martinez's and the Rich Porters, the gangsters from Harlem in the 80s. Yeah. Juan sold to those statute of limitations. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no smoke, but
supposedly,
allegedly, OG sold to those you call kingpin. Hov is adding to his resume in 2022. Not his resume. He's adding details to his street resume in lyric form in 2022. He's explaining to people because there's always been like a air of question around Hov's street career, like how far in the drug game was he? How ranking was he? How many people did he have working for him? How much money did he make? All these kind of questions, like, and he adds to it over time in his catalog as the statute of limitations expires on the shit that he used to do. Mm-hmm. And this is him doing that again in 2022, letting people know after 2020 is when the expiration is when the statute of limitations on OG Juan's actions actually let up was literally just 2 years ago. So Hov couldn't even said this in 2019. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Is that camera on me? Yeah. OG sold to those you call kingpin. OG strand weed is distributed to it's supplied to the distributors who put it in stores. So Hov is telling people he's supplying OG legitimately and selling drugs legitimately. And he's saying that OG Juan sold the drugs illegitimately to those you call kingpin. So both in reference to the streets and now he's like, if those are your drug lords, whether it's legitimate pharmaceutical industry or dispensary or the streets, then who are we then? Like, you know what I mean? He's just like, so that's to anyone that questions his status, both street life and currently. You know what I'm saying? And then we move, that's what? 5, 6 entendres? And then he says, I'm now careful with, he says, never my intention, the consequences of my way of life, the way we used to play with life, I'm now careful with the sentences. Them only jail bars I like. Jail sentences, but rap sentences. You know what I'm saying? Jail bars, as in rap bars about jail, but jail bars. But third meaning, he literally has bars about jail on the song called Jail on Donda. So jail bars, literally three meanings. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I literally saw some people being like, oh, Hov just rapping, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know what he's saying, or like he ain't even really had no entendre in this one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I saw like weird comments, and I'm just like, bro, like, I can't have these kind of conversations right away because it takes time to unpack all of this. I never wanted to be the state's custodian. The laws are draconian. We're not even going to get into all the things outside of rap that Hov does that adds context. That is the context of some of these bars. All the extra philanthropic activism, legal and political moves that he's making, has been making, that he's referencing. I just want to talk about the meaning of the bars and why it's impressive. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the technical skill of the bars and why it's impressive. Somehow I outfox every box they try to throw me in. Obviously, the first surface meaning, outfoxing somebody, outsmarting somebody, outsmarting the expectations of his detractors. That's meaning one. Then he outsmarts the law, who would have imprisoned him in a box. Outfox every box they try to throw me in. Then he's countering the prejudices and the stereotypes and the limitations, like the shut up and dribble people on Fox News. How I outfox every box they try to throw me in. You know what I'm saying? And then fourthly, he was literally specifically accused, I think in the 90s, of sleeping with Foxy Brown. And they call, women's parts of the box. Him and Foxy both denied this. It's cap. But he's addressing that as well. 4 meanings. Outfox every box they try to throw me in. Quadruple entendre in one bar. Back and forth on this turnpike. It really took a toll on him. A toll physically and spiritually, weighing him down. But the actual cost on the toll roads to move from Brooklyn down the New Jersey Turnpike that he used to push weight along, that he used to transport going south, picking up the yayo, the perico, and moving it back north. Like, there's so many layers, and it's not just for the sake of being clever. Like, he's literally telling you his story, addressing critics, adding context to a lifestyle that people not only were forced into in the 80s, but still live now because of systemic, perpetual, cyclical issues in society. He's doing so many things with every bar, and then he gets to the point of all this pain from the outside inspired all this growth within. New planes getting broken in. Rock Nation established a company called Paper Planes. They applied for the legal paperwork in like 2019. New Paper Planes company, and it creates clothing wear. So when you breaking in new clothes, new planes getting broken in. All this pain from the outside inspired all this growth within, so new planes getting broken in. Highest elevation of the self, they done fucked around and gave the Wright niggas wealth. Someone pointed out that the Wright brothers invented new planes. So new planes getting broken in, company, clothing, Wright brothers, new planes getting broken in of existence, like elevation. Like, as in spirituality, as in his mental planes. That's why he says highest elevation of the self right after. And that's another thing I want to point out, is there's the context clues in the bars, before the bars, and after the bars to tell you what an entendre multiple layers actually is. Because some people will interpret lines and be like, oh, this is a double entendre, but it's like 2 interpretations or 3 interpretations that they're like guessing at, and the clues to what the person's talking about that would lead to their conclusion aren't present. He says highest elevation of the self. So we know when he says planes getting broken in, he's talking about spiritually, highest elevation. You know what I'm saying? And then also Hov literally ordered a new plane. That's something that Guru, his young engineer, dropped on us in an interview with Rob Markman. Shout out Rob Markman. Shout out Young Guru. And then to build on that, highest elevation as in literally the jet that he buys, that he's ordering, takes him highest in elevation, highest elevation spiritually. You know what I'm saying? So that's a double in just the phrase highest elevation, and then the phrase new planes getting broken in are two separate entendres. That's another thing. A phrase, an entendre is a word or phrase with two or more meanings. So like a whole bar with like a whole sentence isn't an entendre unless that whole phrase has two meanings. So you have to look at the individual word or phrase and then look at the context around it to get it to decipher its meanings. They say they don't know me internationally. Niggas on the road did. I see a lot of Hov in gigs. They don't know me internationally is coming from like 50 Cent and T.I. and different rappers being like, oh, but you know, Hov can't be the GOAT because if you play his songs in this country or on overseas, they don't know him as well as, you know, they do in America. Just different things that people say in interviews. You know what I mean? And then Hov's like, oh, okay. And then he comes back with it. That's another thing I mean by checking boxes. Mm-hmm. He's addressing his critics. He's addressing narratives. You know what I'm saying? Just like in Neck and Wrist with Pusha T, he's like, oh, if Big was alive, Hov wouldn't be in this position. Like, we'll talk about that later. Like, but like on the road and in gigs is referencing the music touring, obviously. On the road, when you're on tour, DJs say, yo, I'm on the road. I'm going on the road, touring. Me and Guru, his engineer, extrapolates on this also. That on the road has one meaning, but gigs is the UK pioneer, for those unfamiliar. Shout out to Gigs, legend. You know what I'm saying? And on the road is a reference to pon the road, which is in street slang in the UK. They don't say street dudes, they say roads. They say, oh, you're on the road. They say you a roadsman. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If you in the streets, if you doing street shit, underworld shit in the UK, you on the road. You pon the road. So he's telling people on the road, touring internationally, they know me. And then also on the road in the UK, which is international, people in the streets know me. Like, street dudes know me. You know what I'm saying? They say they don't know me internationally. Niggas on the road did. I see a lot of Hov in gigs. You know what I'm saying? That's one. Hov did. Billy is 2. How many billionaires come from Hov's crib is 3. Bronzer Rock Boy, so 4 is 4. I left the dope game record clean is 5 entendres. Out the Mud. Oh, by the way, MUD, Mud, Makeup Designery is a makeup company, by the way. So when he says out the mud, they got to face you now. They can't make up the shit. That's another layer. That's the 6th one. The homophone of I'm at the cap table is 7. Breezy What the Business is 8. We let y'all do the Zaza's OG for the OG is one that I actually can't really break down. Someone told me that Andrew Zaza is a reference to Andrew Zaza from Godfather 3, but I haven't seen that movie.
I was thinking more so there's like Reggie versus OG or something like that, just like a weed reference.
No, it is a re-reference, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the first layer. Like, but then there's the second layer. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but you know,
I would say y'all know a little bit more about that than I do.
Yeah. But even without that one, that's 7. What is that? 7, 8. Same. And then some new niggas out of pocket talking exotic. When you come out of pocket, you spending money. So you coming out of pocket to speak about exotic things, but you out of pocket as in you talking reckless. Like some new niggas out of pocket talking exotic. You barely been to the Bahamas, or you barely been to the Bahamas. That's another topic. He cuts himself off. You know what I'm saying? For context, you know, I'm not even gonna get into that. If you know, you know. Like, you know what I mean? But like, that's 9. OG sold to those you call Kingpin. That's 10. I'm not careful with the sentences. That's 11. Them only jail bars I like. That's 12. Somehow I outfox. That's 13. Back and forth on the turnpike. That's 14. All this pain from the outside with new planes broken in. That's 15. Highest elevation. That's 16. They say they don't know me. They say they don't know me internationally. That's 17. Hov and gigs. That's 18. 14 double entendres, 2 triple entendres, 1 quadruple, and 1 quintuple. 80 bars. 18 entendres. Slickness, autobiographical, poignant, original. And I'd say all this to segue into the overarching, which is, this is like year 32 Hov. Like, Kendrick wasn't born when Hov started rapping. Like, he wasn't even breathing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Cole was like 2. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how long he's been doing this. And if you go back, I want to touch on the Biggie, if Hov wasn't alive, if Big was alive, Hov wouldn't be in this position line from Neck and Wrist. Like, the reason why stuff like this is warranted, in my opinion, and why Hov even but why he's at the end, like, when y'all talking GOAT, know this. As in, know all the stuff that I just said. Enrique, you mentioned earlier, it seems like he just went on his whole resume. Yeah, because he's like, well, next time y'all talking GOAT, you donkeys need to know this. Know this stuff that I've just laid out. Because it's like, without context and without information, how is, like, what are you even talking about? You're just talking about your personal favorites and what you listen to. But if you don't have a history, if you don't know what someone's done, then you can't really compare. The context of who even qualifies sometimes gets marred by narratives, and that's where you get stuff like, if Big was alive, Hov wouldn't be in this position. Like, Hov shouldn't even have to address that in 2022. Yeah. But, like, he does, because there's people that don't have information. When I get on YouTube and I type in Jay-Z GOAT or something of that kind, I get a whole bunch of Gen Z kids with episodes talking about why Jay-Z might be overrated, or why is Jay-Z really the GOAT? Is he this, that, and the third? Does he write? Does he not? Does he do this? People coming in without information, making claims. And it's like, bro, it's not just about Hov. In general, that's not really good for the culture. Like, context matters. That'd be like somebody, that's like, what's his name? Ja Morant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I'm a rant when I get
Ja. It's like Ja coming in, you know what I mean? And being like, yo, I'm better than Jordan. It's like, bro, you ain't got a ring, bro. Like,
not even just that. You're always hurt.
Ron was even saying that. He was the chosen one.
And he's like, let me go prove it.
Yeah, let me go play.
Let me go play. Let me go prove how great I can be before we even make these comparisons. You know what I mean? But
it's almost like when we brought up Corday and like a lot of these younger rappers drop and go. I mean, I feel like you need to have the confidence and stuff. So dropping a one line like, I'm the best out right now. It's like you're going to have to do that. You got to be sometimes grandiose and just overly confident at times. But
there's limits.
But there's a limit. Like when you actually say like, GOAT, like it's okay when Cole said it. Like
I'm
when
the
he was
best rapper alive.
like LeBron James. What am I? GOAT. And that's you've put your skin in the game. We know your skills. You can possibly, for our generation, be considered a GOAT of art. You have the resume. Doesn't have the resume. Corey doesn't have the resume. A lot of these young rappers don't have the resume.
Right.
And especially like you mentioned, even like with the culture, and I talked about these Gen Z people. It's like me learning about Jay-Z, and I've known how great he's been, but I'm starting to get introduced to his history.
Yeah, in detail.
So they made me listen to Reasonable Doubt, because I haven't listened to Reasonable Doubt, so I listened to that through the week, and I'm listening, in hindsight, seeing how Jay-Z became Jay-Z, but also seeing young Jay-Z and just the foundation that was set and what he has built on over these past 3 decades to become now the undeniable GOAT of rap. And it's just kind of interesting to see that, looking back on it in hindsight now, knowing where Jay is and seeing a lot of these blueprints, pun intended, to get where he's at is just insane. And now getting some of the backstory of a lot of this stuff. Like I said, I just listened to Reasonable Doubt. Now getting a lot of the information he's dropping is like, okay, Jay-Z was really in this.
I mean, even to piggyback off that, just how many rappers he's influenced. I always say this, like, I tell everybody, if it was not for Jay, possibly your favorite rapper right now would not even be a rapper, if we're being honest.
I know who your favorite rapper is. Your favorite rapper is Drake. Drake literally said that at 17, he saw a Hov concert, and that's what made him start rapping.
Yeah.
Before Kanye was his rival, before he was influenced by Wayne, before Wayne put him on, before all of that. When he was 17, Hov started it. You know what I mean? Hov did.
Wale said it best. Jay picked Cole, a star was born, and I died in the womb.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro.
Hey, if we're talking about some people, some double entendres.
Wale is nice.
Yeah, Wale is really nice.
Oh,
I showed Groundhog Day to my friend. I had to pause almost every line. He means this, this, and that.
Right.
He means this,
Exactly.
this, and that. And he was like, wait.
For real?
Really? I was like, yeah, rewind it back, and like you said, context clues, you gotta listen to his lines before and after.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying he's on the same level, but
I get what you're saying.
lyricists like that, like Wale and Cole at times, like these
how much
entendres are
Jay
part of
has
being a GOAT.
inspired or actually elevated lyricism.
There you go, elevate. I like
Yeah,
that.
Exactly. That's
so
a great
it's
word.
like,
And then we're all Cole fans, and we all know that a lot
We
of
all love
his
Cole.
original mixtapes are coming off of Cole, not Cole.
Jay.
Sample something. Can I live?
Yeah.
Like
Dead
like
president.
Hov said, can I live?
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Can I live?
Can I? No, literally. And no, to take it back, one of my earlier points, like there's perception issues that happen in the current landscape. You get new fans coming in hearing narratives that have been perpetuated by some older fans who may have seen Jay as like a post-Tupac and Biggie figure. And this is something I want to address because Hov blows up to superstardom in 1998 with Volume 2 Hard Knock Life. 5 million records sold. Biggie dies in 97, Pac dies in 96. So to the general public and the casual listener of that era, it seems like Hov comes through a door that Biggie left open after he died. But that's not what happened. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's just the optics from looking on the
Right,
outside in. That's what it
exactly.
looks like. Okay, Pac got taken from us, Big got taken from us, so like there's a hole that had to be filled. I guess Jay-Z had to fill it.
Right.
It's like Reasonable Doubt came out in 96.
96. Hov was rapping. He dropped Dead Presidents 1 in 95. He dropped a hit. He dropped a classic single in My Lifetime in 94, which was written in 93. There's double entendres in that verse, by the way. He's been doing it that long. He has a demo tape by DJ Clark Kent that contains songs from the group called the Hard Pack, which was him and Sauce Money from 93. He has feature verses with Big L from 95. He has feature verses with Mike Geronimo from the early 90s. He has feature verses with Big Daddy Kane. And speaking of Big Daddy Kane, I want to point out another thing. Devonta, you mentioned influence. Big Daddy Kane said, or it was according to a Rock the Bells article where they were describing Kool Mo D and Big Daddy Kane's double time rapping ability. They said that staying on beat and going rapid fire, hold on, let me find it. It says that, meanwhile, Big Daddy Kane, according to Rock the Bells, Big Daddy Kane honed his craft as a rapper, writer, and DJ and started working with an artist who was able to rap faster than anyone he'd ever heard. As far as that super fast stuff, quote from Big Daddy Kane, like what Twista developed into. He said the first person I'd ever seen do that was Jaz-O. And then he said he saw Jay-Z doing it. He said, and then the up-and-coming Jay-Z made a mixtape for Fresh Gordon, a producer, DJ, rapper who had featured on the Jazz's album from 1987. Watching and learning from Jaz-O and Jay-Z inspired Big Daddy Kane to deploy this style in his own arsenal. That's in the 80s. That's 10 years almost before Reasonable Doubt. And then Busta says he credited Jay-Z in an interview being one of the earliest rappers to get into the art of fast rapping or double time rapping at the time. He said, I never heard no rappers do it. No MCs was doing it. I have to say the only people that was fucking with it on some rap shit was the Originators. And the Originators was the crew that Hov was down with Jaz-O. They did Hawaiian Sophie together in 1989. It's a classic song. It charted top 20 on one of the Billboard charts at the time. But people will talk about Jay-Z like he's a late 90s rapper Or they'll talk about him like he's a product of Biggie or something just because they're both from Brooklyn and has similar styles and similar backgrounds. And these narratives build and grow over time. And it's like Hov was really, and this is the last point I'll make when it comes to the differences between him and some of the other people of his era. Hov was literally living the street life that all these other rappers, and this isn't to discredit anybody, because hip-hop is a fictional storytelling, has a fictional storytelling basis. Slick Rick, the first storyteller, was telling fictional stories. You know what I'm saying? Cool G Rap, the pioneer of East Coast mafioso rap, was telling fictional hitman street stories. You know what I'm saying? And he admits, he attested it himself. He was not a street dude. You know what I'm saying? Ice Cube, you know what I'm saying, was a film student. Tupac was a theater student. They were fictional storytellers. Eminem wanted to write comic books. Nas wanted to write screenplays. That's why they all tell fictional stories. Prodigy of Mobb Deep, fictional storyteller. All the gangster rappers you can think of for the most part. That's why Hov says in 97, by 94, I became the subject of half of you niggas' rhymes. Because they were writing stories about the stuff that him and his people were doing. Like, and then he says, you know what? Let me do that. Like I can just cut out the middleman. This is
my life.
Like,
let me rap about it.
Let me just do that. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a different level. And it's not just the fact that it's fact or that it's true or that it's autobiographical. It's the sophistication and nuance and detail in which he's able to do it writing-wise because it's real life. Because it's real life, he can give you details and perspectives that no one else can. And you'll see that more, Enrique, when you get to volume 2 and 1 and stuff like that, bro. It's just crazy. Streets is Watching, Imaginary Players, you could go on. And that's something that separates him from a writing standpoint, and why nowadays all of the dudes coming out that's former street dudes that rap in this coke rap, street rap, underground, you know what I'm saying, post-rock Marciano, shout out the God, you know what I'm saying, post-Griselda, you know what I'm saying, shout out Fly God, you know what I mean, the Machine and the Butcher, like these people.
The Butcher coming, nigga.
You know what I'm saying, like all the people that are in these waves, most of these MCs cite Jay as a primary influence.
They're Jay products.
They're all children of Hov. Ransom and Rome Streets and Stove God and Crime Apple and Hus Kingpin and on and on and on and Shay Noir and, you know what I'm saying? And then the conscious people, Rhapsody and Sci-Hi the Prince and Cole and Kendrick and Wale and Drake and Nicki.
JD just called himself Hova, didn't he?
Hova, something like
I mean, so,
you know what I mean? So, and that's another thing.
It reaches.
Still to this day, new art. You know how many rappers that influenced people in the 80s, but not so much after that? How many rappers influenced people from the 90s, but not so much after that? Influenced people from the 2000s, but not so much after that? Hov been influencing people
decade after decade
and then
after decade.
Not only are rappers current in the current landscape and current generation being influenced by Hov's early stuff, they're being influenced by Hov's new stuff with 444 and things like that. How many collab albums came out after Watch the Throne, bro?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. There was like 40 of them last decade. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that we wanted to touch on, and I know I really wanted to get into, because this God Did verse it's unpacking all of these things.
Can I cap this J one off with this? Everybody go around your 3 favorite Hov songs or verses. I think that'd be a great way to cap this one off.
You have to go last for me. I gotta think.
You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'm just a baby.
You know, I got you, Arthur. I'll start first. Number 1, and it was funny because you really sat up here and thought, I guess I tricked you into thinking I've never heard this verse. Drug Dealers Anonymous. That has to be my number 1 favorite Hov verse.
That's fair. That's a verse. That's understandable.
Number 2 song. It's very commercial, but it's like every time I hear it, like I just love it. Show Me What You Got.
Oh, nice.
Like I love that song.
That's an underrated hit.
Probably my third.
Pretty lady.
My third. Man, this is the toss-up. I gotta say, Can't Knock the Hustle.
That's an amazing intro.
Yeah,
Gems in that shit.
Yeah.
First thing he said was, I'm making short-term goals when the weather folds. Put away the letters and put ice on the gold. Chili with enough bail money to free a Big Willie. High stakes, I got more at stake than Philly. Literally, I'm making short-term goals when the weather folds is bar number 1 on Reasonable Doubt. Giving you instructions. When the weather folds, every seasonal change, every 3 months, make incremental goals building up to your larger goals. Making short-term goals when the weather folds. Weather folds is seasonal changes. He's telling you in poetic terms how to live your life right away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So to wrap it up, nobody's got, when you talk about classic albums, nobody has a Reasonable Doubt and an In My Lifetime and a Volume 2 and a Blueprint and a Black Album and an American Gangster and a 444 and a Watch the Throne in a 25-year span. Like, these are all albums, and we're going to touch on why later, but these are all albums that have impacted culture, that are influential in the genre, regardless of how people personally feel about them, regardless of where you rank them, regardless of who your preferences are. These albums all influenced. In My Lifetime, Volume 1 is the foundation for T.I.'s album Trap Music, the album that ushered in the genre trap music that's been dominating the mainstream for the last 15 years of hip-hop.
So what's your top 3?
Traces back to Hov. So yeah, for me lyrically, he's the best lyricist in the world. So it's extremely difficult for me to narrow it down. But I'm gonna say Dead Presidents 2 from Reasonable Doubt, Can I Live from Reasonable Doubt, and What More Can I Say from the Black Album.
All right.
What more can I say from the Black Album?
What you got, Enrique?
I'm gonna sound like really mainstream just because I've been growing.
I mean, to be fair, you're new.
Yeah,
you're new to Jay.
So I'm going off kind of what Devontae did. So me emotion feelings come in. So what songs do I hear with Jay that like invoke and kind of like, oh yeah, Jay-Z's my spirit animal in this song. One, No Church in the Wild. I think we've broken down for Watch the Throne, but Jay and Ye just did their whole thing on it, and the like, just the bravado that comes through. Like, again, that was like early years of me with hip hop, and like hearing about Jay, I'm like, oh, like there's something special about this guy. And of course, he's in the game for 20 years at the point. So I was like, okay, there's a reason why he is seen as, at the time, wasn't the GOAT, but like one of the best of all time at the time. And over the years, I've started to see that. So No Church in the Wild, number 1. Pound Cake. His verse on Pound Cake is
that's actually a solid one.
It's fire. Like,
there's one I actually forget about too.
Honestly,
it was huge. I remember that.
I'm fresh out of Ave. Will Jesus grab the wheel?
And then this is just another personal favorite, just because I love both of them. Mr. Carter.
Hey, Mr. Carter.
Tell me how you been. And that's just, again, if you notice, a lot of them are ones with features, just because that's how I got introduced to Jay, was him featuring on the artists that I knew. But that gave me the introduction to Jay. So again, a little more mainstream. Again, not as probably deep as you guys, but I hear those songs. I think of basically, I got the essence of Jay in all 3 of those songs. I knew what Jay was about. I figured that he actually lived what he was talking about. I see why he is now revered as the GOAT, and why he influenced so many people just off of verses like that.
Yeah, speaking of those features, that's another thing that is a part of the cultural context of Hov's status is he knights people. He passes the torch to people. Lupe on Pressure. Wayne on Mr. Carter. You know what I'm saying? Kendrick on Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. You know what I'm saying? Drake, Meek. He lets people know, yo, this person's arrived when they get that feature. And he, like, sometimes literally vocally passes the torch like he did with Wayne. You know what I'm saying? Young Carter, go farther. If not, then why bother? I've taken so much from this game, it's your go. Like, you know what I mean? And Wayne's like, I got it. You know what I mean? And that's something that Wayne acknowledged early. I'm the best rapper alive since the best rapper retired, Wayne said in 2004, knowing that Hov just retired in 2003. It wasn't a debate, guy. In 2003, it wasn't a debate. Wayne, one of the cockiest people on the planet, was like, yo, I can be the best rapper alive Now that this nigga's out of the way.
Now that
You know
he's
what I mean?
gone.
Like, you know what I mean?
And then he never really retired.
Yeah, and then he came back. You know what I mean? So, like, that's something that matters. You know what I mean? Common said they came to rake the game over. My man's retired. I'm a take over. You know what I'm saying? Eminem said, as long I could care less what category you place me, as long as when I'm pushing up Davies by the heavenly gates, they place me beside Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody was shouting out Hov in 03, 04, 05. I could keep going. T.I. You know what I'm saying? Everybody. You know what I'm saying? Up before you get to the 2010s. So it's like everybody knew post the last 20 years. Like, you know what I mean? That it's like he just keeps, you know.
It keeps going.
He keeps going. It's just like, so it's like you to debate it. I don't debate this stuff anymore. I'm only doing this so I can have, I only wanted to do this so I can have, quick citable explanations for people to ask me these questions. Like, yo, I'm just gonna be like, here's the answer, bro. Because we can't keep in 2022, bro. Like we can't keep.
It's over, man.
It's over,
Stop
bro.
It. Stop it.
You know what I'm saying?
You want to cap this off, man?
Yeah. But yeah, shout out hip hop. You know what I'm saying? We love this shit.
Yeah.
No disrespect to other legends. You know what I'm saying? We're going to unpack the greatness of a lot of artists on this pod. We're going to unpack the greatness of a lot of songs and albums. But 14 solo projects, 6 collabs, 7 classics, debates your house plant. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody has a resume greater than Sean Jay-Z Carter.
Amen.
So, that's it.
Until then, y'all take it easy.
Women lie, men lie. Numbers don't.
Go.
Go.